Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudирayet. Nashtapaye shabadeshto nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati nastikim. Ete chamsa kalapumsam krishnastu bhagavan swayam indrari vyakulam lokam ridyante yuge yuge. Nama sankirtanam yasya sarva papa pranashanam pranama dukkha samanastam namami harim param. Nigama kalpa taror garidam panam sukamukadam rita divasam vadam vibhada bhagatam rasamalayam muhuro rasikabu vibhavukaham. We are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 2nd chapter, entitled Prayers by the Demigods, text number 17. Sa Bibrat Paurusham Dhama Brajamano Yatha Ravim Durasado Ati Durdharsho Bhutanam Sambhabhuva Ha Sabibrat Paurusham Dhamam Brajamano Yataravihim Durasado ati durdarsho Bhutanam sambhabhuva Sa he Vasudev Bibrat carried Paurusham pertaining to the Supreme Person Dhamma the spiritual effulgence, Brajamana, illuminating, Yatha, as, Ravi, the sunshine, Durasada, very difficult even to look at, difficult to understand by sensory perception. Atidurdharshan, approachable with great difficulty. Bhutanam, of all living entities. Sambhabhuva, so he became. Ha, positively. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki! Translation. While carrying the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the core of his heart, Vasudeva bore the Lord's transcendently illuminating effulgence. And thus he became as bright as the sun. He was therefore very difficult to see or approach through sensory perception. Indeed, he was unapproachable and unperceivable even for such formidable man as Kamsa. And not only for Kamsa, but for all living entities. Purport. The word dham is significant. Dham refers to the place where the Supreme Personality of Godhead resides. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam it is said, Dhamna svena sada nirasta kuhakam satyam param dimahi. In the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no influence of material energy. Dhamna svena sada nirasta kuhakam. Any place where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present by His name, form, qualities or paraphernalia, immediately becomes a dham. For example, we speak of Vrindavan dham, Dwarka dham, and Mathura dham. Because in these places the name, fame, qualities and paraphernalia of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are always present. Similarly, if one is empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to do something, the core of his heart becomes a dham, and thus he becomes so extraordinarily powerful that not only his enemies but also people in general are astonished to observe his activities. Because he is unapproachable, his enemies are simply struck with wonder, as explained here by the word durasado atidur darshaha. The words paurusham dhama have been explained by various acharyas. Sivira Raghavacharya says that these words refer to the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vijayadvaj says that they signify Vishnu Tejas, and Sukadev says Bhagavad Swarup. The Vaishnav Toshani says that these words indicate the influence of the Supreme Lord's effulgence. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that they signify the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshoran Militam Minam Dasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sabadantigam Bandeyam Sri Guru Sri Uttapada Kamalan Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakandvidamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Govika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshari Brishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivajari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Nama Eva Kevalam Kolau Nastyeva Nastyeva Gatyaranyata. Jayati Jayati Namananda Rupam Murare Viramedani Jadharma Dhyana Pujadiyatam Katamapi Sakridatam Muktinam Paramamritam Ekanam Jivanam. Sabi Brad Parusham Dhama Brajamano Yatharivihi durasada atidurdharsho bhutanam sambhavuvaha. While carrying the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the core of his heart, Vasudeva bore the Lord's transcendently illuminating effulgence, and it became as bright as the sun. He was therefore very difficult to see or approach through sensory perception. Indeed, he was unapproachable and unperceivable even for such formidable man as Kamsa, and not only for Kamsa, but for all living entities. So, Vasudeva is a pure devotee, eternal associate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, eternally residing in the spiritual realm, in the highest realm in the spiritual world, Krishna Loka, which is divided in 4. Dwarka, Dham, Dwarkapuri, where Dwarkadish is eternally residing, and Vasudeva and Devaki are situated there, eternally engaged in serving Dwarkadish Krishna, who is also known as Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Then the second realm is known as Mathura Dham or Mathura Puri. Mathuresh Krishna is residing eternally there with his associates. Sisi Gonita, Sisi Krishna Baram, Sisi Radha Shamasundar. And then the highest realm is Braj Dham, Sri Vrindavan Dham, Golok Dham, where Swayam Bhagavan, the original personality of Godhead, Lila Purushottam, Sri Krishna, is eternally residing, and his eternal associates are constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service. His parents, Nanda Baba Yashoda, the gopis headed by Srimati Radharani, his friends, Vasudam, Sudam, Subal, Sridam, Madhumangal, Gandharv and others, his servants are there in transcendental loving service, in transcendental loving exchange, they are residing there. And next to Brajdham is Shvetadip Navadvip, which is simultaneously non-different and different from Brajdham, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is eternally residing, being served by his eternal associates. Jagannath Mishra, Sachimata, his parents, his associates, Nityananda Prabhu, Gadadhar Pandit, Srivas and others, Sarup Damodar, Rai Ramananda, Rupan Sanatan and others. So these pastimes in the spiritual world, they are eternally going on. Of course, so many other planets are there where the Vishnu Murtis are residing, and they are expansions of Krishna, ultimately Yashodanandan. By Krishna's will, sometimes this material world is manifested. Sometimes it is not manifested. When it is not manifested, that is known as pradhan. It is an energy of the Lord. Krishna has so many expansions, Vishnu Murtis, and so many energies are there. And the Mool Shakti, the most important energy, Urjeshwari, Srimati Radharani. We are in Kartik Maas, most auspicious month, which is known as also Damodar Maas, And we follow Kartik Vrat, Damodar Vrat, also known as Urja Vrat, taking shelter of Srimati Radharani, the Shakti, Mool Shakti, the original energy of the Lord, the original goddess of fortune, all the Lakshmis in Vaikuntha are expansions of Srimati Radharani, Saraswati Devi, Parvati Devi, Durga Devi, so they are also all expansions of Srimati Radharani. So by Krishna's will, sometimes this material world is manifested. And then, so, the external energy is there, Prakriti, so, Yogamaya is the internal energy and Bahiranga Shakti, Mahamaya is the external energy. And then some of the living entities from the Tatastha Shakti, the marginal potency, they come to this material world. Sri Krishna is most merciful, and so the 12 pastimes are going on in the spiritual world, and this material world is manifested by His will and giving the opportunity to the Bada Jivas, Nitya Bada, those who are eternally conditioned, to revive their ultimately original Krishna consciousness or God consciousness. So He Himself is appearing once in a day of Lord Brahma. Other times, in every yuga, so Kali Yuga, before Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, in every yuga, so incarnations are there of the Supreme Personality of Godhead appearing, or His representatives are appearing to deliver the fallen conditioned souls. So 5,000 years ago, Yashodananda and Gopinath, Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna Himself appeared. So that is described here in this 10th canto. And so, as explained here in the verse, that Vasudeva, the father of Vasudeva Krishna, was carrying Krishna in the core of his heart, in his consciousness. Of course, these are eternal associates, and it is natural for them to remember the Supreme Lord. At the same time, when they come into this world, even the eternal associates, they are not always fully manifesting the remembrance, constant remembrance, or constant glorification, or engagement in the service of the Lord. But then eventually it is manifested. So here, Vasudeva perceived, here it is also mentioned by Prabhupada, carrying the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his heart, in his consciousness. And then the Personality of Godhead was transferred into the heart of Devaki. And then, so the symptoms of pregnancy were there, and then ultimately Vasudeva Krishna appeared. So here the point is made about when Krishna was manifested, fully manifested. Krishna is always manifested in the heart of all living entities. He's all pervading in this material world. At the same time, is always situated in Golok Vrindavan. And the different expansions are there. And is situated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. But then still, He may also manifest according to the desires of His devotees in different forms. As Ramchandra Bhagavan or other personalities. But here, Vasudeva Krishna appeared in the consciousness of Vasudeva. And because of this, because Krishna or Vasudeva is the source of everything, and The Brahmajyoti is actually Krishna's effulgence, in which the Mayavadis, they want to merge the big light, the absolute truth. They want to merge into that, which is Krishna's effulgence. The effulgence of course, also the different personalities of Godhead in Vaikuntha, but ultimately coming from Krishna. Everything is coming from Krishna. So the Brahmajyoti, the spiritual effulgence is there, which is Krishna's bodily effulgence. So because Krishna, Vasudeva manifested, so therefore the effulgence was there of the transcendental body of Krishna. And therefore, there was illuminating effulgence. And it is mentioned here, he became as bright, yatha ravihi, brajamano yatha ravihi. Ravi refers to the sun, one name of the suns. So Sanskrit is a most wonderful language, most rich language. For example, here Ravi, so that refers to the sun. But there's not only one name for the sun. Bhaskar, Surya, at least 12 names are mentioned of the sun, referring to the sun. But one word also can have, or one name of the sun is also Mitra. Mitra, but then this word Mitra can have also many meanings. So one refers to the sun, one refers to a friend, Mitra. Mere Mitra, even in Hindi you say Mitra, my friend. So in Sanskrit, so Mitra means also friend. So similarly for the effulgence of the Lord, there are many, many names. So the Brahmajyoti is there, and Tej, and as explained here in the purport, Vishnu Tej, Dham refers to Vishnu Tej, Tej. Tej means the effulgence. Also as explained, Urja. Urja also means effulgence. And so the different acharyas have given different meanings, and they are all correct. All of them are correct. And the acharyas who have mentioned the different meanings in the last paragraph. Purusham Dhamma. So Dhamma, here Prabhupada has explained the spiritual effulgence. Purusham, pertaining to the Supreme Person. So, but Dham has also different meanings. Not only effulgence, Dham means the holy abode. It means a situation, a platform. But here, Dham has been translated as the spiritual effulgence. So because of that, the effulgence of Vasudeva, Krishna, therefore, Vasudeva became very effulgent. And because of this, Durasado, Atidur Dharsho, it's very difficult to look at him because he was so effulgent. Atidur Darsha, one could approach him only with great difficulty. So we must have faith in the words of these great personalities. Although in this world we cannot see that nowadays, because actually there are not many pure devotees who are so empowered. But even you can see, for example, Prabhupada, when he was present, of course he's still present, and those who have love for Prabhupada, they will see Prabhupada also in their heart and manifest before their eyes. So Prabhupada, the pure devotees are very effulgent. So as explained here. And then people, they become attracted to the pure devotees because they are carrying Krishna in the heart, and they become effulgent. But here, not everyone is becoming just like Vasudeva, so that he cannot be approached like Prabhupada. So devotees could approach him. Fortunately, if he was as effulgent as Vasudeva, there would be nobody here now. But by Krishna's mercy, so Prabhupada was very effulgent, but at the same time he could be easily approached. And therefore then the devotees, they surrendered to Prabhupada, but they could see how Prabhupada was effulgent. And persons, they became so much attracted to Prabhupada. And even sometimes people that were against him, but then they could do nothing because the pure devotee is protected by Krishna. One time I heard one Ratha Yatra, some people were stopping the procession in America, but then when Prabhupada was there, and then suddenly, then the situation changed, and even then the police was there, as usually in the West also, even here, to guard the Rath. Then they were there, and then these persons who were against, they immediately went away. So by the influence of the pure devotees, things are going on nicely. Of course, difficulties are always there in the material world. Therefore, even the pure devotees, sometimes they have to face great difficulties, as explained here, like Vasudeva and Devaki. Pure devotees, but they have to undergo so many difficulties. So they were harassed by Kamsa and by his man also. But of course, because the relationship was there, Devaki was the cousin sister of Kamsa, so some respect was given there, had to be given. So the Prabhupada in the purport is explaining about this word dham, which is very significant. And is explaining also in the purport the same point, that dham refers to the place where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is residing. As in the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is explained, Prabhupada is quoting the last line, Dhamana svena sada nirasta kuhakam satyam param dhimahi. So dhimahi, one should meditate, satyam param, on the param satya, the highest truth, that is Krishna, from whom everything has emanated. And Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye, to whom also the Supreme Lord spoke, to Lord Brahma. And so, and there also in this first verse, Tejo, again this word Tejo there is mentioned. So everything is coming from the Supreme Lord. And so Dhamana, so that refers to the abode of the Lord, where the Supreme Lord is residing. And in the scriptures, and as Prabhupada has explained, so we speak about Vrindavan Dham, Dwarka Dham, Mathura Dham, Mayapur Dham. So Dham, so that refers to the place where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is residing. And Prabhupada is making the point also here in the purport that where the name is present and the qualities, even the paraphernalia is present, so that becomes a holy place. So if one is chanting actually purely the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So when one is purely chanting the holy names, then automatically the holy dham is there. But actually, first of all, we have to perceive the holy dham, and then only Krishna will be present. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada used to say, without dham seva, there is no Nam Seva. So if you're not remembering the holy dham, you may be chanting Hare Krishna, but Krishna will not be present. But Nama Chittamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddha Nirvukta Abhinatva Nama Naminaha. Krishna Naman different, non-different. But first you have to connect, of course, at the very beginning with Sri Guru, the spiritual master, who is the representative of Mahaprabhu, Krishna, Balaram, Srimati Radharani, who is the manifestation of the mercy, Krishna Kripa Sri Murti, of the mercy of Krishna. First we have to connect to the Guru, to the spiritual master. And then we have to connect to the holy Dham. And then we can connect to Krishna. Therefore, when we worship the deities, the same process is there. First we worship the spiritual master. Then we remember the holy Dham, Navadip Dham. Then we worship Mahaprabhu. Then we remember and we glorify Vrindavan Dham. And then only we worship Krishna. So that is the process. So while we are chanting the holy names also, so of course we have to chant very clearly, very nicely, with some feelings, devotional feelings, for the pleasure of the Lord. We have to hear very nicely. But we have to remember, first of all, Sri Guru also. And then we have to remember the Dham. And then only we can remember Mahaprabhu. And we can remember Krishna. Otherwise it is not possible. And then to become fully absorbed. So we have to daily try to chant very nicely, and we have to try to ultimately improve our chanting. On a daily basis we have to endeavor very nicely and try to control the mind and the senses, take shelter of the spiritual master, the holy Dham, the associates of the Lord, and pray to the Supreme Lord, so we can improve our chanting, so we can give up the offensive stage of chanting and come to the clearing stage, Namabhas, which is a reflection of the pure name. And then eventually, by constant practice and endeavor, by the mercy of Guru Gauranga Krishna, then ultimately we can chant Shuddhanam. And then Krishna will be present in Vrindavan Dham, or Mahaprabhu will be present in Gaura Dham. But so the endeavor has to be there. And then the mercy will be there. Damodar Mas, we are worshipping Yashoda Damodar and trying to see how Mother Yashoda was serving Krishna. And Prabhupada has explained this in this Damodar Lila in a few chapters, that those who want to enter Vatsalya Bhav, they have to carefully study how Mother Yashoda was serving Krishna, what was her mood. So that has to be adopted, the mood of the Brijabasis. And then, but always chanting in a humble state of mind, Amani Namanada Krishna Hana Krishna Nama Sadabale Braje Radhe Krishna Seva Manise Karibe. We chant Hare Krishna, and ultimately we have to remember Krishna also. So we may endeavor, but we have to concentrate on the chanting, but then we have to pray that Krishna may manifest, and automatically, if one is doing that year after year, then Krishna may manifest by His sweet will, by His mercy. And when the pure devotees are chanting, so then Krishna is there dancing on the tongue, or in the heart, in the ear, and then they can see the pastimes, one after the other. And if Krishna is appearing from the heart, then they are crying out. Of course, Krishna is always there in the heart, but sometimes manifest and sometimes not manifest. When Krishna is not manifest, then they are crying out in separation. So, just in the last paragraph, we just saying a few words about this, about the different acharyas. So we have to, that is an important point, that we have to sometimes reconcile what the different acharyas are saying. But we have to respect all the acharyas. And therefore Prabhupada is also mentioned. And Srila Prabhupada, the purports which he has written, so they were based on the commentaries of these great acharyas. Of course, especially but the first Acharya is the original commentator of the Bhagavatam for the Vaishnavas is Sridhar Swami. So he has to be taken in consideration. That is a must. And all the Acharyas after him, they've also mentioned about Sridhar Maharaj, Sridhar Swami, that Sridhar Swami has explained this, and then they are giving their commentary, that is Vaishnava etiquette, referring to the previous Acharyas. Like we are saying something, it is not our own saying, but it's what the Acharyas have explained, what Prabhupada has said, what Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada has said, what Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said, and especially what Rupa Goswami has said. And then, when we speak in this way according to their words, then actually we can get some realizations. And then we may also have some some further insights by the mercy of the Lord. Just like here the different acharyas are there and they have different realizations and therefore also seen from different angles of vision the absolute truth. And so they are giving different commentaries. So referring to this verse regarding to Paurusham Dhamma. So Prabhupada is explaining the first Acharya, Viraraghav Acharya. So he's explaining that these words refer, so Paurusham refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Dhamma refers to the effulgence of the Lord. The next, Vijayadvaj. So he came after. So before they were all after Madhvacharya actually. So in our Sampradaya. As you know, Krishna is ultimately the Adi Guru, and then we have, is giving knowledge to Lord Brahma, and then Brahma of the Jiva, so is the Adi Guru, and then he spoke to Narada Muni spoke to Vyasadeva spoke to Madhvacharya, and then the different acharyas are there, like Viraraghava and then Vijayadvaj. Vijayadvaj is mentioning that they signify, is basically the same, just other words are there, but practically the same meaning. Vishnu Teja. Vishnu again refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Teja may refer to the effulgence, but Tej also may refer to the Shakti, the energy, the power. So, but very similar meaning. Shukadeva Goswami is saying that means Purusha Dhamma means Bhagavat Sarup. Bhagavat Sarup. So Bhagavat Sarup, that means the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this case, Vasudev, Krishna. And in that, of course, the Dham is included. When you speak of Krishna, even the name, that means the form is there. If you say Krishna, then the form is there, Krishna's form, his qualities, his abode, his associates, his paraphernalia, and his pastimes are included in Krishna. So the holy Dham, for example, Mathura Dham, Vrindavan Dham, that holy Dham is no different from Krishna. Of course, again, some different explanations are there, which are also correct. For example, some say that the Dham is an expansion of Balaram. That is also true. But Balaram is an expansion of Krishna. And then the Dham is an expansion of Balaram. And then some say that Vrindavan Dham is a manifestation of Srimati Radharani, which is true also. And then if we analyze, so Krishna is Satchidananda Swarup. Also Balaram, also Srimati Radharani. But then the personification, Adhishtatri Dev, of the Sat, the existent potency, that is Balaram. Without Balaram there is no existence. Of course, Krishna is the source of Balaram, that we have to remember. So the Sat is then also coming from Krishna ultimately, Satchidananda Vigraha. But still then the distinction is given. And the Chit, the knowledge potency, the embodiment of that is Krishna himself. And Ananda, the embodiment of the bliss, that is Srimati Radharani. And nobody can serve Krishna, Gopinath, without the mercy of Srimati Radharani. And so we can see that, so Balaram is also such an Ananda Swarup. So, but primarily the Sat aspect is considered. And then, but the Ananda aspect is there. And the Balaram is serving Krishna in all rasas. In fatherly affection, because he's elder, as the best friend. Even in his serving also, he wants to serve. Everyone wants to serve Krishna. Ekala Ishwar Krishna Arasabha Britya. Krishna is the only Ishwar, controller and hero, Nayak. And that is explained. Sarvaloka Nayak, the Omkar, Akunaruchate Krishna. Sarvaloka Nayaka is the only hero. And everyone is servant of, even Balaram is feeling, I want to serve Krishna. And then is there in the Santaras as Vrindavan Dham or as the paraphernalia of the Lord. And but then also in the Madhurya Bhav, in the Gopi Bhav. So he's expanding as Ananga Manjari, who is simultaneously also the younger sister of Srimati Radharani. So, and he has a conjugal relationship. So in the form of Ananga Manjari, Krishna so is having conjugal pastimes with Ananga Manjari also. So it is for the materialistic person, it is impossible to understand this subject matter. And even the neophyte devotees will have difficulties understanding this subject matter. Those who are in the medium state, they can have some understanding. And properly understanding is there by the pure devotees. But we hear, even if we don't understand everything properly, but we should hear, then eventually by hearing and by chanting the holy names, by serving, seva has to be there also, seva bhav, seva vritti. Without service we cannot realize that subject matter. Simply hearing will not be sufficient. But we have to chant the holy names, we have to serve. Of course, chanting is also serving. So Bhagavad Sarup is explained by Shukadev Goswami. Purusham Dhama refers to Vasudev, and the Dham is included. And Vaishnav Tushani, so that is by Jiva Goswami, says that these words indicate the influence of the Lord's effulgence. The influence of the Lord's effulgence. So the influence of the internal potency. And then ultimately Srimati Radharani. So by Radharani's influence we can serve actually the Lord. We can approach Krishna. So Krishna is Vishaya Vigraha, is the object, and Srimati Radharani is Ashray Vigraha. She is the abode of the love for Krishna. So and therefore also some say that Vrindavan is a manifestation of Srimati Radharani, and Vrindavan Dham is such an Ananda Swarup. The aspect of Balaramadi is there, the aspect of Krishna is there, the aspect of Srimati Radharani is there. So, and then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary saying that they signify the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purusham Dham signify the appearance of the Personality of Godhead. And also in other places it is expansion, it is explained the transcendental consciousness, Shuddha Sattva, is known as Mathura. Mathura refers to the holy Dham. One is transcendently situated, when the consciousness is pure, then the state of Mathura is attained, Mathura Dham. So then only Krishna will appear. So the heart has to become pure, and as explained also by Prabhupada, when the heart is pure, then the core of the heart, the core of his heart, referring to the pure devotee, becomes a Dham. When the heart is pure, and Vrindavan Dham is manifested there, then only Krishna will appear. When Navadvip Dham is there in the heart, then only Mahaprabhu will appear. So first the Dham has to be there, and then Krishna will appear. So therefore Vishwanath is explaining that Purusha Dham refers to the appearance of the Dham and then the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. I'll stop here. Maybe one question is there. One or two. Okay, here, can you give the mic? We do ladies first. She has her hand was up first also. So we'll have Mataji speaking and then Prabhuji. Also, okay. 3 questions on, yeah, then we have to wind up. Yes. Because then darshan will be there, so yes. Yes.
So my question to you is that so in the morning, how can we serve the Dham in the best way?
How you can serve the Dham in the best way?
And even without we, yeah.
Many ways how to serve the Dham, but even doing Jaikar, like every day we say Jai Vrindavan Dham, Jai Mathura Dham, Jai Navadip Dham, Jai Jagannathpuri Dham. Already doing Jaikar, glorifying, that means victory to the Holy Dham. To glorify the Holy Dham, that is also Seva. Just saying Jai Vrindavan Dham, that is already Seva, Vrindavan Seva. Even in the mind if you say, or if you're remembering the Dham, Vrindavan Dham in the mind, that is already Seva, just by thinking of the Dham. Then you already get the benefit of serving the Dham. But then practically speaking, you can be in the Dham, you can serve the bridge buses, and yeah, Gomata, you can sweep also. So different things, you can give water to the trees in Braj, you can plant some trees. So many kinds of seva you can do in the Holy Dham. But in the simple way, because in the morning we are getting up and then we are chanting. While chanting, then you can just try to remember the Holy Dham. And then this way you're serving the Holy Dham, and then you can proceed. And then there's a chance that you can remember Krishna nicely. Yes.
So, being personally in Vrindavan, how is it more beneficial than being in an ISKCON temple, maybe in Mumbai or Delhi? Or
Yes, yes.
So what is the difference?
Well, there's some differences there, because the Holy Dham is here, so there's potency is there, great potency of the Holy Dham. And the temple is in the Holy Dham, so great potency is there. But even in Bombay, you go to Radha Ras Bihari temple, you're inside the temple, then you're in Vrindavan Dham, if you have the proper consciousness, if you're doing bhajan properly. But if you step outside, then Maya is there. But here you go outside, you're in the Holy Dham. Of course, even there's a covering of the Holy Dham. It's not that Maya is not here, covering, but there's a covering. But the potency is there, and there's a Maya covering on the Dham, and those who are not having the proper consciousness, they are not in Vrindavan Dham. They are on the covering of the Dham. So we have to be aware of that and try to remove the anarthas, the material consciousness. Okay?
So we make more spiritual progress.
You can make more spiritual progress if you're in the Dham, but if you're following the order of the spiritual master and he's telling you, you go to America to preach, then you'll be empowered also, and then there's no difference. If you follow the order of the spiritual master and you're nicely chanting, you're taking shelter of the deities, like you go to New York, it's like, it's like hell almost. Delhi also, of course, is like hell. But if you're in the temple there, then you're protected. And then you chant the holy names, And then you can also be so much benefited because the spiritual master told you to go there. But still we should take shelter as much as possible of the holy place because Maya is very strong. So we have to be careful. Therefore Prabhupada suggested that we go regularly to the holy Dham. Of course now, due to the situation in the world, difficult, therefore we don't have many devotees here because they cannot come here. So, but if you're here in Vrindavan, so you're most fortunate. So you can consider yourself very fortunate. Because in the Dham it is a little easier. Then you're more protected. There are more devotees here. It is easier to become fully Krishna conscious. Okay? It is easier. And in the conditioned state we have to try to have the most favorable situation. Okay, just Prabhuji had a question. Here in front, yeah, mic is behind.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the wonderful class. So, appear to go to the Lord is very simple and approachable.
Yes.
But in the Bhagavad-Gita mentioned that Vasudeva was so effulgent because of his purity and
yes.
that he was unapproachable.
Right. Yes. Yeah, it appears to be contradiction, but it is not. At that point, because Kamsa was inimical, and so the environment was not good. Kamsa was there, and then his men were there, and they were, they were ready first to kill Devaki, right? But then Vasudeva protected her, speaking to Kamsa, and so therefore, in order to protect Vasudeva and Devaki, so they became very effulgent. They were in a prison, right? And then the followers of Kamsa were there, and they were inimical. And so therefore, in order to protect them, they became so effulgent, so that Kamsa could not harm them. And others also, they could not do anything. In this way they could not disturb, just to protect them. So the effulgence was very strong. We should understand in this way. But then with the preachers like Prabhupada and the previous acharyas, they were no less than Vasudeva and Devaki. And actually we know in our sampradaya, the followers of Mahaprabhu, they are the greatest of the devotees. The six Goswamis, Prabhupada, all gopis, were the most exalted. So they are most effulgent. But in order to distribute Krishna consciousness, the effulgence is reduced so that people can easily approach them. But they are protected by the Lord. And they are effulgent. They are very effulgent. But the effulgence is reduced so that ordinary person even can approach them and take shelter of them. Okay? All right, last question.
I was asking about the same question. In the verse itself, it says that all the living entities, they were not able to approach Vasudeva.
Yes.
Because he was effulgent and he was unapproachable as well. So when we refer to all the living entities, is it all the living entities all over the universe or within the
No, that refers to all. It refers to all. And because there was no need to approach him, there was no need. And he had to be protected. So therefore nobody could go close to them. Just for their protection, and there was no need for anyone to approach him. So by Krishna's arrangement, it was done in this way. But of course, when Krishna then, Vasudeva Krishna was there in the womb, some of the demigods, they came a little close because she was so effulgent, and they were offering prayers. That is also mentioned, but they were not coming close.
Because of the demigods came and
some of the demigods, and they are very much empowered, so they could come a little close, but they were not going near, very near. From a distance they were offering prayers, and because they are in purified consciousness. So as Prabhupada is explaining also, in a purport, where is it here, that what was it? So they're not easily approachable. What was the point here? So the general people, they could not approach. But so there are extraordinary persons are there, and by ordinary sense perception, Prabhupada, that was there in the purport, by ordinary sense perception, like ordinary people, they could not approach. But they are higher beings, the demigods. They are higher beings. They're on the subtle level, so they could approach. More easily, just for example, you cannot go to the sun, and we cannot even go to the moon. And but the sun god is there, and the associates are there. They can live there. And the sun is so shiny, we cannot even see the sun at noontime and look at the sun, especially in summer. What to speak of going close? But the sun, the Surya Dev is there, and his associates are there, and they have no problem with the sun. They're living there. So similarly, the sun god can go close.
Mata Devi was there.
Yeah. Yes, so the demigods, because they are on the more subtle platform level, so they could approach. So therefore Prabhupada also mentioned, those with ordinary sense perception, they could not, but others they could. That refers to the demigods. But but everybody else, they could not approach. Okay? Hare Krishna. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Shri Prabhupada ki.